Oh. Isn't Alice? But I'll keep looking up.
This land was made for you and me. With liberty and justice for all. My life is a story. Do you want to know the truth? Love me, baby, with emotion.
Okay, so I had an idea on this intro, so I had to execute it because nobody else was gonna execute it for me. How am I gonna live in America during a coronavirus and not put a mask on camera? That would just be a disservice to humankind in 2020. So I am here to service you guys with makeup tips that I've discovered in the past 3 days. But now they are makeup tips that have changed my world, and now they will change yours. Let's get started. So I was looking at male models and male pictures of like male makeup on people. I need to calm down my energy. That intro was a lot. I'm still in Chromatica, so time doesn't exist. So let me restart. So I've been looking at like people's makeup, especially male models, and how they do male makeup without looking like male makeup, like on magazines and pictures and like before. And I came across this picture of River Phoenix and how they did his makeup for like movies, because I was like, how are you gonna do a role man makeup without looking like makeup? And I looked closely and they squared off the middle of the brow, and then I clicked in my head that maybe if you just put coverage right here. You know what? I'm not really good at talking. That's probably because of the placements I have in my horoscope map. So I'm better at doing my thoughts than actually explaining my thoughts. So let me explain it and maybe you'll get what I'm talking about while I do it.
Don't admit it. I play it cool.
So I'm gonna take some foundation and then a darker foundation on a little brush. An idea I want to do here is, I feel like if you put makeup on any side of your face or any surface of your face, you can tell it on camera or in person. So I was like, how do you get no makeup looking makeup without putting makeup right here where people look at or where the camera focuses on, because there's so much space right here. And my idea was coverage the eyelid with your foundation. And I've tried this 2 times, so there's no flaws here. No mistakes. Okay, so my train of thought was, if I put makeup on this square of my face, it's gonna structure and flatten out this middle right here. And you know how coverage like makes your face look blurred? So if you put right here makeup and nowhere else, it's gonna like flatten, lift this state of your face up. And that's what we're going for, because I'm thinking that's what they do on male models, because the eyelid is always going to be like shiny or reflective or oily because it's skin, and skin is oily. And I love how like all of these thoughts are coming up in my head when I was just doing it. But I guess I'm here to teach it.
Bonjour.
Okay, so coverage on the eyelid and the little triangle between your brows. I've been breaking out there lately, and I remember looking up like the reasons why, and I forgot them at the moment, but there was this post that said that every place that you break out, there's a reason for it in the body. So like if you break up on your nose, it could mean like digestive problems, or your chin is like hormonal. I think the middle of your forehead was probably being in your head too much. And I like to put some right here on the top of the nose, because my nose isn't the most ideal shape, but I was looking at it today in the morning, as I do, and I pushed it up to see how my nose would look like if I had a nose job. And I looked at it, and then I looked back without me pushing my nose up, and I was just like, oh, I see why it's there. It looks more comical. Because if I had a perfect nose, if you had a perfect nose, people would take you more seriously. So imagine if I did have a perfect nose and you would take me even more seriously. And that would leave me bored. Okay, I need something on my head. There, I look like a Californian, so A+ to that. If you get to choose how you look like, Californian isn't the worst. Because when I think of the California style, I think of hope, optimism, Katy Perry, California Girl, sunglasses, tans, nose jobs, blonde hair, and the sense of optimism that America has, ironically. Huh. Okay, so now that we got our creams on, we're gonna take some CoverGirl loose powder. I would say you don't have to set this because it's just a natural look, but we live in California, serving our California vibe, and it's been over 100 degrees here at the moment, so let's set this down. Okay, so let me try to retell that River Phoenix story again without overstepping on every single word I spit out of my mouth. So I was looking at River Phoenix's makeup that they did for his roles that he played in movies, and I was looking at the brow first because I don't know, I was just drawn to the brows. I love like a strong brow. And I noticed that there was no product at the tail end of the brows. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because we always put product at the end of the brows, and I feel like you can always clock a brow that has makeup on because there's always a color over there. So I was like, so I zoomed in and I noticed that it was dark from the middle, from the beginning to the middle. So to mimic that, we're gonna take this brush, some brow powder, and let me show you. Let's do this. Let's create some lines. Like applying a line right there on like your bone structure or your flat face is just gonna level it out. And if you have coverage under it, it's gonna like leave a straight line. And I feel like it makes for looking like a thick brow. And I was plucking my brows as I do when they get really hairy because I go through phases where like it doesn't matter how my brows look, it's a matter of what I do with my brain. That I started thinking about the brow look of the 90s or like the 80s or any brow look, and I was making mine higher and trying to make it thinner because I was looking at pictures and I was wondering why they made them so thin, like why a woman's eye was so thin. And it made sense that they had a thin brow and a lot of eye space, so it opened up your eye really big and it looked really beautiful. Blend that in with a new spoolie. I feel like my teaching is more of living or showing by the example than actually talking it out, because if I talk it out, maybe you're just gonna get interested or laugh. But if you see the tips that I'm doing in action, then I don't have to laugh about it while I'm talking about it. Okay, we got that done. Let me fix my hair because I feel like if you close off your face more with your hair. Because if you think of a man, or you think, yeah, let's talk about men. If you look at a man's hair shape, it's a square on top. So if you were to bring in your hair, it closes off the little square, so you only have face popping out, so you could see more beauty. And this is a beauty video, as in every single video, because we're like a super Taurus, so we're here to be beauty, talk beauty, teach beauty, sing beauty, make beauty. That's what I told myself, and that's what got me to sit down to make this video. So should we do anything? Oh, your nose. Talking about nose job, let's give us a little nose job pickup with this highlighter. I want to bring attention to this part of the nose without using glitter, but using this sheen type highlighter. Because if I don't bring attention to something, then I'm going to give you the opportunity to, how do I rephrase that? Because that's a really good point. If I don't give you a point to look at, you're going to look at whatever you want. So with makeup, you get to emphasize or pick what you want to emphasize instead of someone else picking what they want to emphasize about you. And you can do that with anything. Like you can do that with makeup, with clothes, with your words. And of course, we're doing our little Sharon Tate tip. You can't leave the house without brown shadow around your lips. And I quickly just done it on the bottom lip, and it does so much because I feel like my lips are a kind of lip that fades into my skin. So if I give it this, it just gives it a place to end and a place to start. Idea for the makeup is accentuate the lip, accentuate the brow, coverage on the eyelids, coverage on the tip of the nose. Most importantly, if you're gonna grow a mustache, you have to emphasize it more. Because why not? So let's sharpen those up, make it look like Captain Hook. My name isn't Alice. I think I love the concept of the video or the iPhone or the YouTube as a snapshot of a kid in 2020. Because if you give a kid an iPhone, because we all have an iPhone, we all have a phone. So it's just, if you give a phone to a person and see what they do with it. I think that's so cool. Because if you believe we're all the same or made up of the same thing, it's kind of like a social study or social test. You give somebody or everybody the same resources or the same opportunity and see what they do with it. And see what they try to capture with it. I think that's so cool. Because it all comes down to how you edit it, how you produced it, how you sent it out, like your own individual way how you sent it out. Because if we're like two YouTubers next to each other and they have the same Final Cut Pro, same iPhone, same YouTube platform, but they're two completely different usages of the movie or the sort of, like say we both have 10-minute movies, there's gonna be an intro, body, and a conclusion. And once you know that there's 3 parts, you get to apply your mind to each part and play around with it. And that's so cool because you get 2 movies out of it, you know, with the same resources. It's just different eyes, different mind. But they can both capture the exact same thing of the spirit of the kid expressing themselves on camera, using what's around them or using their environment to create something. Like an example would be like what kind of music you use. That would be the music that you're listening to, or the clothes that you use is the clothes that you're using to at that moment, at that age. So if you look back in 4 years, you could see what you were doing. Or if you look back in 40 years, you get to see what a kid was doing with the iPhone 11 in 2020. And you get to hear and see what music was around, or what was popularized, what was editing, what was around that time. I feel like it's so much more than actually believe what we are. Like the timestamp for today would be May 29th, Chromatica Day, the 6th studio album by Lady Gaga. Like, you're not gonna get to be able to say that in 20 years. So to be able to say it right now is cool.
Wanna be your end game. I wanna be your first string.
Like my first thought goes to, and we're gonna bring down our sideburns a little bit, because I was looking at a picture of Prince and he used to shave right here and have like gel down skinny sideburn. I think that's so cool. It's so picture of the time for him, 1984, let's say. It's how men used to use their sideburns differently. And now in 2020, you get to use them differently. It's cool. Oh, so my first thought with that was, I see Gaga as our Bowie, just to make a reference. So we get to live during the time that Gaga is doing and building her career, just as a like 20-year-old kid would have been doing while Barbra Streisand was doing her career, or Cher was doing her career. And we get to witness that because we're alive right now at the same time as them, living on the same planet, which is so cool. Like, we're living during a time that Ariana Grande is here and Gaga is here. And the people that were alive while Cher was doing her thing while it was her age is cool to see and look back on. Because right now we get to see Gaga do the career steps, the jazz album. I mean, the tapping into every genre of music. 1, doing the first movie role. 1, And I feel like the artists of today are just showing you what you can do with the resources that you have. Like the Gaga album. I keep going to Gaga, so Gaga high. But she's taking the resources that we have right now and using them, like making an album on a computer, which wouldn't have been able to be done 30 years ago, or who knows how we're going to be making it in 30 years from now. So just to capture that and send that out is so cool. And then you get to realize the point that the only thing stopping you from doing what you're doing is yourself or your own mind. And she got to prove to us what you can do with a computer. To us, as in like humankind in 2020. Like, we're not going to realize what we could do or what was done in our generation. And maybe it's not for us to figure out, it's just to live. And then future generations are gonna view and judge. Which is so cool. Kind of gives you a reason to do anything. Or remember the fact that you chose to come down here as an earth. And then that saying, to be in the world and not of it, starts to make sense. Now to accentuate those lips. I wasn't gonna pick this one, but maybe this one chose me. Sugar Pill lipstick. And even the way how we're using makeup, or how makeup is so approachable, or so, what's the word? Not achievable, not approachable, accessible. Makeup's so accessible to the common human. It wasn't in the 1930s, like during that movie industry or that movie genre. It was just for movies, but in this point in time, how it's accessible and how it's used and how people can create their characters that they use. So cool. I feel like everything is its own resource, and you get to see how it evolved over time and how it's gonna evolve, and how a boy can use makeup, recording himself on camera in 2020 to express themselves or express the acting that they want to express, that the makeup or whatever brings out in them. It's cool. And you can also see it not as cool, but would you want to hang out with someone who doesn't? You want to hang out with the people that are using the resource that they have to make something on this physical plane. And then, since we are going with this California vibe, let's add a little burnt nose to make it look like we've been outside tanning when we've been inside. Just fucking thinking. And dancing to Chromatica. And it's so cool to see an album like Chromatica come out right now, because it's so interesting how we haven't had a dance album or it's very telling of the time that a dance album is coming out right now compared to any other genre of album. So it's going to be cool to see what comes out after Chromatica and what was before Chromatica. I think it's just so cool to live during the reigning of Gaga. And you can say that about anything. How the music industry is right now, how the movie industry is right now. Like, it's not as bad as you think it is, or you tell yourself it is, or how bad it seems. If you remind yourself that you chose to come down here, so that can eliminate the depression and the loneliness out of you once you get to recognize that. And that we all signed the same thing, that we know there's one way out, which is death.
There's only two types of people in the world. No one wants to see it our way. Can't agree to disagree.
My name isn't Alice, but I'll keep looking for Wonderland. I was like, what's the lyric? I made myself a michelada so that I can get myself to talk, because I'd rather just stay silent and live in my own little world. But it's just not appealing, the usage of substance to talk. That's why just weed or alcohol has no substance to it anymore, which is cool. Okay, so now that we have our male makeup model done, now we're gonna go on set. So, 1 second. If no one's casting you in roles, then you got to turn on your own camera on and play your own character, right? So I'm playing an American in 2020.
Feels like every time I turn a corner, you're standing right there.
Wearing this mask is very poignant as of who you are or what you can do at this moment in time. And you see this piece of cloth on me, you get to realize that this piece of cloth is also this piece of cloth, and that we're all completely naked under the cloths that we're wearing. So it matters what's coming out of here or of here.
Just need you to tell me we're alright, tell me we're okay.
Let's see if I'm gonna procrastinate to film this or not. But I have to do it. No one else is gonna do it for me. So I hope you take these makeup tips that I've came over to myself. What the fuck? That was like a usage of past tense, present tense, future tense words in a sentence. Cool. So I hope you got some makeup tips from that, which I will be looking at for when I see people in real life or observe the makeup that they have on. I hope to see if they use the tips that I came across or the tips that I figured out for myself. And maybe that's what you have to do. Maybe that's how you learn. I don't know. But it's cool to just do the makeup or figure out the tips or look for the tips or have the tips come to you. Be able to receive the tips. Tips. And then once you realize it, you can see it on other people. I don't know, the makeup industry is pretty cool right now. If you were to just look at it as in just woke up today and look at it, you'd be like, this is kind of fucking boring. Like everyone just making himself look pretty or making himself look sexy. But if we were just to look at it from a different perspective and compare it to the 1950s makeup or the 1990s makeup, it's just cool to see what you can do or how easy it is to slap on the makeup that the actors were using in the 1930s or 50s to get them into character, and see how a kid or a human is using it in 2020, and how the person is using it to present themselves over to perform. But you get to choose that. Are you gonna wear makeup to perform, or are you gonna wear makeup to just cover up your pimples? Do both. Should we add something else? Because I feel like I look too regular right now, so I don't want you to be taking me too seriously. So let's add on some makeup. Let's get this e.l.f. brush. I got this e.l.f. brush as my first makeup brush when my mom used to like not let me wear makeup. Like I remember I wore makeup and it was so fucking obvious. It was like orange, and she got me in trouble. And I think that's what, and if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be right here doing makeup on camera. So it makes you not take the past so seriously and let people grow and let people change, and realize that if it wasn't for you doing that, then that people or those people wouldn't be changed or would have the opportunity to change if it weren't for you being alive. And I got told this once, and it makes sense emotionally now than it did just intellectually, which was that if you being in a world has already changed the world, so then that knocks out the thoughts of depression out too for you. Thumbs up to that. So we're gonna take some colors. Let's let my hand guide me and not choose. And I used to see makeup as just making yourself look pretty, and it was so boring looking at it from that perspective. So if you just see yourself as the artist or the creator, it's so much funner. I'm just waiting for the day that I talk myself into doing the drag that I've told myself that I need to do. my god, Gaga fell on the floor. Okay. So now we look like we have been drunk for the past 3 days, so that's a plus. So maybe people will talk to us differently. Or the having makeup on will emanate a certain energy. Because at the end of the day, it's all acting or it's all performance. Okay, goodbye now because my video is now 40 minutes long. And I have so many other topics I want to talk about, but I'm just going to let myself think about them. Because I have beans waiting for me in the kitchen to eat. Goodbye. I hope you got some tips out of that. Or maybe that tip idea was just masked for me to get myself to talk in front of this camera. Or something or someone getting me to talk in front of this camera. Goodbye. You could just sense how still everything is. Everyone is. And it doesn't really matter what opinion you have. It does matter, but if it's not rooted in more than just the present moment, I don't know. I just think I discovered the fact that I came into the perfect family or perfect family situation. No dad, single mother, to do what I need to do, and that is a cool realization. And that's everyone's realization for themselves to make. And you realize that no one can love you or tell you that. And weed especially can't fucking tell you that. I need to get that into my head because weed is too appealing to my senses, but I wouldn't have been able to do this if I was blown out of my fucking body. Not blown out of my head, blown out of my fucking body. Nothing matters. Just create art. Just perform. Those are things I need to tell myself. And not let any other thoughts stop me from doing that. And by saying that, I hope that could inspire any other kid to do the same. Because why not? Why not look back in 20 years and see what music you were listening to in that time, what the world was listening to at that time, what makeup was available at that time, what dogs were around at that time with you, what clothes you were wearing at that time. Everything you do is like a snapshot of who you are, what you're doing, what time you came into, what resources were available for you at the time. Gotta stick to looking at it from that point of view before I let anything else fall into that. My drugs were so fun. Goodbye. Again, for like the third time. I think if I were to leave you with an inspiration to do something, look at the tools you have in front of you and see what you're going to do with them. When your video is just you trying to inspire other people with thoughts that you need to just inspire yourself with. Maybe that's the point of art. If you're gonna be a byproduct of the world or of 2020, at least you get to be your own manufacturer. Cool. I think you get addicted to the perception that comes along or has already been made for you in drugs. That being said, I'm motherfucking thirsty. Oops. Okay, bye, I'm done. Hello. Oh my god, they're gonna fight. Ah! God, that's your brother. I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye.